Holy Chevra. I am here with Rabbi Ami Silver, who is a writer, teacher, and therapist based in Yerushalayim, the holy city of Jerusalem. He received smicha from Yeshivat Sulam Yaakov and a master's of social work from Yeshiva University. Rabbi Ami teaches weekly classes at Beit Midrash Sharei Shalom and leads groups around Jerusalem focused on experiential and embodied Jewish spiritual practice. He's part of the creative team at alphabeta.org, where he helps create original educational content and has a private psychotherapy practice. You can hear Rabbi Ami's teachings on Chassidut, prayer, and Jewish spirituality on his weekly podcast called Awakening. Rabbi Ami, thanks so much for taking time to talk.
Thanks for meeting with me, Rav Shmuly. It's an honor to be with you.
So we're in quite a precarious time, unprecedented. And let's bracket for the moment the medical, the humanitarian, and think about spiritual life, because many people are indeed thinking about that even more than ever. So let me ask you just a broad question. What are some of your initial thoughts on tefillah, on prayer, in this unique predicament we're in?
So I'll start with just the moment, because this situation brings us really moment to moment. I mean, I heard you reading my bio, and all of a sudden it's like, what's a bio? What's a bio at this point? You know, the entire script has changed on us. And I mean, different people in different stages and different trajectories. Here in Israel, things are pretty much closed and closing. We've been in our home for a long time. So the question becomes not only on a personal level, but like on every level, people are facing this question: what do I do now? It's not what I knew until now. And on a spiritual level, okay, I had the normal structures, frameworks for how I viewed my life, how I viewed my religious life, my spiritual practice till now. What does it look like in this moment? And I think it's forcing us to, for some people, it's actually forcing them to look more deeply into what's most important to them, and into what lies at the core of their spiritual life. So I know for me, you know, while the external trappings of what regular prayer might look like is different right now, the closeness and frequency of prayer, I mean frequency both in terms of how frequent and frequency, and we talk about a kind of wave or frequency of prayer, that is what's most present right now. I mean, I think to be human right now is to be prayerful in most of our actions and thoughts and minds and hearts. So on one level, structures are falling. We have less to lean on. On another level, I think for those of us who are oriented spiritually or seeking to be oriented spiritually or being forced to orient spiritually, it's bringing us a little closer to the heart of things.
Yeah. You know, in looking at the typical framework of Shevach, Bakasha, and Hodah, you know, praise and requests and gratitude, it feels like some may struggle with praise right now. It feels that, you know, has its unique moments of yirah, of awe. Bakasha, I mean, those who hold a theology that value requests of God, certainly there's a place for that. And it feels like Hodah, I mean, gratitude is always feels central to spirituality, just picking the things that are still good within crisis and building off those. But I wonder, what are some unique dimensions of tefillah that you think open spiritual opportunity right now?
I mean, you mentioned gratitude, and I mean, you know, how many scientific articles have you and I seen in the last 5 years? You know, scientists say gratitude's good for your health. It's a long life. It helps your, you know, immune system, all sorts of things. I think we're in a situation where we're looking for the life rafts and looking for things and connecting for the things that not only we should be grateful for, like not having to convince ourselves, but to truly feel the value of that which we have is really within reach right now. And there's something else that I would say, you know, for me, a lot of the connection to our words of prayer and our traditional forms of prayer, there's a lot more that opens up as we connect with the multiple layers of meaning embedded it within the words themselves and the practices. So for me recently, the Modani prayer has taken on another layer of meaning for me. Modani, we're used to thinking of, okay, it's the prayer, I'm grateful for being woken up again in the morning. But the language hoda'ah, of thanks and gratitude, in its root, it has to do with admittance, right? Admission. On the opposite scale of the spectrum, we say vidui, confession, that's admitting things. Giving thanks is a form of admission. What you've given me comes from you. What I have is from somebody else. And here I've been connecting a lot with just a practice of allowing, admitting what is right now, the state I'm in, the concerns I'm carrying, the combination of stress, responsibility, commitment, concern for myself, my family in this moment, to allow myself to really just be here, present to what is, and allow what's in myself to be here. Modani lefanecha, all of a sudden becomes for me, I'm going to fully allow myself to be here with God right now in this moment.
Yeah.
All of it, because when I'm fighting, when I'm running, when I'm this, so that actually, what's the word, counterintuitively, fighting the stress and the anxiety oftentimes increases our stress and anxiety. And when we can find a degree of safety, of breathing room that can somehow give a little space for also those more difficult emotions to just be here without having to go anywhere. So it actually helps us kind of get a little more calm and on top of things, and allows those different feelings to integrate a little.
Beautiful.
So that's been really key for me. Shechzar bi nishmati. Oh, I'm breathing again. Oh, I'm breathing again. Oh, I'm still breathing. Mm-hmm. This is good. Rabbi Munatecha. There's a deep commitment here. There's a deep faithfulness here, from God, from creation. That's being given to me, and to really appreciate that's been touching me deeply now.
Yeah. Beautiful. For better or worse, Judaism primarily, although not exclusively, takes a collectivist approach to prayer. Tefillah is primarily a collectivist enterprise. And but again, certainly not exclusively. We know tons of Torah. But so I wonder, how does this? I think many folks don't know or have experienced traditional Jews with individual prayer, right? I know how to answer in a minyan. I know how to go to shul. But how do I be mechazik? How do I have hitlavut? How do I reawaken myself? Give myself chizuk, because the minyan's not giving it to me. How do I do that? So I don't know if you have any reflections on those who are really moving from a collectivist to an individualist model here.
I know that's a struggle for many. I'm not one who believes in easy answers or formulas in general, especially not in spiritual life. But something that I've been reflecting on and sharing with people is the basic orientation of prayer that our Chachamim teach us, the basic kavanah, the basic intention and kind of entryway to how do I enter a prayerful space is v'chaben libam lamakom. Connect my heart to this presence. Now, makom, we know actually the Rabbi says one of God's names. Makom literally means place or space. And what it seems to mean in a way of practice and in a practical sense is, how do I enter into a prayerful state? I take whatever time or measures I need to take, those few moments to just settle into the present, not only in time, but in space. Here I am. In these days, okay, I'm sitting on my chair, I'm sitting in my home, on my couch, in my backyard, on my porch. I'm talking as somebody who barely leaves the house these days. And to really notice and recognize, this is the place where God is available to me right now. And if I can be present here in this space, in this moment, in this experience, here I can begin to speak. here I can begin to inquire inward in what's happening and express that outward. And something I also just want to say, we're talking about the collectivist spirit of our formal tefillah. We are so acutely aware of our collective being right now, right? There's this heightened awareness in a sense that like this whole planet, every human being here, we're a part of a single organism. Like I'm closing myself indoors, yes, because I might get sick, but really the concern is for people who are at greater risk than me to contract something that will be endangering them. So on some level, I don't need to be in a room with other people to sense the urgency and closeness of a collective spirit and mission here.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so perhaps, Bli Neder, a final question for you. You're a Talmud, you're a scholar of, we say a Talmud of the Piazetzna Rebbe. And I wonder if there's a piece of Torah from the Piazetzna Rebbe that speaks to our moment. I mean, someone who's writing, who's learning, who's teaching in a state of deep despair and just darkness. And some of us may feel that if we've hit mental illness or just despair in our quarantine. But for those who are mamish, sick or have people dying or in the depths of darkness, what from that moment can we transport to this moment from the Piazetzna's neshama?
That's a deep question, and again, this is a place where I can't give counsel on an online interview to somebody who's really facing this kind of depth of experience. Something that the Piazetzner models for us over and over again, and that I continue to get strength and hopefulness from, is what I'd call an attitude of this too, or here too. And it's not so different from what I said before, but here obviously in a much more dire circumstances that he was speaking from. I'll share a Torah because we need Torah to illuminate our cracks and our pits that we find ourselves in. Piazetzner says that in a sense the central word of prayer is atah. The most important word, the key of our whole prayer is just the word you. And the word you can come in a lot of tones, right? There could be a you of grace and praise and gratitude. There could be a you of angst and crying and yearning. But the center of prayer, as far as the Piazetzner is concerned, is that the entirety of my being is orienting itself to you right now. And that itself, that intense fullness of self being expressed and present here in whatever it is. It could be in some kind of deep contemplative state right now. It's coming in maybe more of a yearn or more angst or more crying. But if I'm crying to you, so there's already a kind of tissue of connection that's in that in a sense, and this is hard to say, and I wouldn't say this if he didn't say these words. The prayer itself is the voice of God answering me. If I can really embody a state where I'm just still talking, the kind of deeper recesses of my being are still crying for the divine, so the divine is there in my kishkas, in my guts. And the despair is when, I don't even have anything to muster up here anymore. And we reach that state. We reach that state as well. And even there, and for anyone who's listening, when you're in that state where it's like, I don't even want to talk to you anymore. Okay, so say that. Or don't even say it. But just let yourself feel that. Like as long as we can keep the pulse pulsating, we can keep our hearts open, we can keep a kind of connection to what is here and present. Here too, we can be here, and somehow in some crazy way, God can be here in us.
It's amazing when I think about how simple it is, and yet how just joyful it is. It's I mean, even in despair, just the presence, the channel being open, right? It's almost like, how can you get past the atah, you know? In fact, forget even the pause in the bracha. I mean, I was just laughing at it. I was just laughing at it because it's so powerful, so simple. But like how many times we just rush through atah, you know? But it doesn't even have to be a bracha. It could just be just saying atah, you know,
Just that.
being there.
Just that.
Being there.
Just that, and to feel that kind of reverberating sense of, here I'm saying you, and how it's touching me. And here too, I just want to say, you know, I don't think you need to believe in God to pray. I mean, I'm a parent of young children. Any parent like lives their life in prayer if they really think about it. Any human being lives their life in prayer.
Yeah.
Like, we're hoping, we're seeking, we're wondering, we're sometimes it goes into the anxiety and the fear. How do I channel that into something that, no, I'm not just this anxious little chicken running around with my head cut off, but there's something in me that knows of a possibility and hopes for possibility of something truly better and possible. Yeah. So I'm saying this also to just anyone who's listening, to just, even in those waves of anxiety and fear, we have a possibility to hold on to the deep muscle that's really beneath that. The deep muscle that's beneath that is something that just lives within us that wants. And that wanting itself is sacred. That wanting is holy. That wanting is, there's something truer about that than whatever is or isn't in this moment.
I was going to go outwards to find the bridge. I was going to suggest that pantheism and panentheism are not so far apart. You know, if one takes an atheist or a Spinoza type approach that basically there's nothing beyond stuff, all the stuff collectively is one, and then one takes a panentheist approach that essentially, yes, like God is everything within everything and beyond, but to see the oneness, like you said, how we can't remove ourselves from the collective spirit right now. Just seeing the unity, the collectivist nature, right, can bring us together. But you go even further, rather than looking outwards to theology, just the want, the desire itself, that internal impulse itself, that, you know, that sacred nature. So Yasher Koach, and friends, be sure to check out Rabami's beautiful writings and recordings online. So much beautiful stuff. Thank you so much for your time and your Torah.
Thank you, Shmuly. And I'm hoping that we all get through this together.
Amen. Amen.